يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تغلوا في دينكم. Those are, oh, Ya Ahl al-Kitab rather, sorry. Ya Ahl al-Kitab, though the people of the book, do not become excessive in your religion. Don't become bloated in your religion. لا تغلوا في دينكم. Easy English, I would say, don't become overboard. Don't become extreme in your religion. الغلو. Ghulu in Arabic is when an animal becomes too fat, or a bone becomes too thick, or the swelling becomes too large, or the arrow pierced too deeply. All of these are examples of ghala. They even say when the prices in the marketplace, like, grocery prices are about to get higher because of what happened in the tariff wars, etc., right? We're going to see the implications in a few weeks. But when they do, we'll say ghala si'r. Prices have been inflated. Prices are swollen. Real estate people will talk about when prices go too high and the market's unnaturally inflated, right? That's ghulu, actually. Allah is saying there's such a thing as ghulu in your religion. In your religion. And if Allah is warning them about this, but the point I'm making so far is the warning is relevant for me and the warning is relevant for you. So let's understand that. What does it mean to go overboard in your religion? Our religion is made up of guidance from Allah. All of the things in our religion are good things. All of them are good things. If you remember nothing else from today's khutbah, just remember this one thing. If you do a good thing, but you don't do it in balance, it also becomes a bad thing. Even when you do a good thing and you do too much of it, that's not healthy. That's not good. That's not okay. Drinking water is healthy. There is a quantity of water you can drink and kill yourself, even though it's water. It's the source of life on this earth, right? Let's talk about within our religion. The famous story, I won't narrate the entire text of the hadith, but just the overall point, because you've heard this many times before. There are companions of the Prophet ﷺ who were very excited about the religion. And one of them said, I'm just going to not sleep anymore. I'm just going to pray tahajjud all night, every night. I'm just not going to sleep. Another said, I'm just going to fast every day. The other one said, I'm just never going to get married. I don't want to fall into temptation. Forget temptation. I'm just not even going to get married. Forget it. Right? And the Rasul ﷺ corrected all three of them because you're all going overboard. You're doing too much. But it's not just about doing too much. If you're going to stay up all night, the human body, what's going to happen to it? You're not going to have energy in the day. You're going to be half asleep in the day. So by the time you get to Dhuhr prayer, even if you're praying and your eyes are rolling in the back of your head. Are you able to concentrate even on the other prayers? No. You went overboard here and the price is going to be paid somewhere else. And you were required to do work in the day. You were required to take care of your family in the day. You were required to be maybe he's a guard at the gates of a city and he's half asleep. Is he putting other lives at risk because he's staying up all night every night? And can other lives be lost because he was staying up all night and he's thinking he's doing a good thing? Yeah. That one good thing, too much of it can create major problems, can't it? Somebody says, I love the masjid. The rewards, I heard a lecture about the rewards of being in the masjid. I just want to be in the masjid all the time. I just don't want to leave. I just want the blessings of Allah. The dunya is fitna outside. I just want to be in Allah's house. Nobody's here. One car parked outside. Homeboy sitting here and just chilling. Hours and hours and hours, right? What happens to the rights of his wife, his children, his mother, his father? What happens to his financial responsibilities? What happens to his social responsibility? What happens to all of that? All of the things, and he's sitting here reading Quran. He's sitting here 8 hours a day reading Quran. But that Quran is telling him to take care of his family. That Quran is telling him to make sure that he takes care of his parents. That Quran is telling him to fulfill all of these other obligations. And ironically, he thinks he's doing a good thing while violating all of those ayat that he's so passionately reciting. You can do a good thing, but it can very easily turn into a bad thing. Why? Because you can go out of balance. It's as simple as that, just going out of balance. Our entire religion is actually based on this idea of balance. What happens often is that a person, sin happens. Human beings make mistakes. So you made a mistake. Let's just say you one time got very angry at your child and you raised your voice. Now there's a guilt in you. I can't believe I was so harsh to my kid. I can't believe I did that. I'm never going to raise my voice at my child again. I'm never going to be that kind of dad again, etc., right? Now you decide to become like the most pacifist father that ever existed. Is that healthy for your child? Does your child still need boundaries? Does your child still need some discipline? Does your child need sometimes you need to take a stern tone and correct your child, etc. But you're reacting to one mistake and you're overcorrecting. You're overcorrecting and you created another extreme. And that extreme is not benefiting your child. That extreme is destroying your child. It's actually destroying your child. This is the teaching that goes across the board in everything. Even not just at the level of individuals. In this part of the world where I come from, in South Asia, for example, in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, etc., we are taught religion most of the time, unfortunately, we're taught the religion through an extreme. So for example, there'll be a lot of emphasis on the rights of elders and the rights of parents and the rights of somebody, or the respect for scholars, for example. All of these are good things. I should respect scholars. I should respect my parents. My elders have rights, etc., etc., etc. But when you only emphasize that and emphasize it and emphasize it and emphasize it, and it gets inflated and bloated, it becomes ghulu. And now what happens? Now there are other people who have rights. And now it becomes okay to take away their rights because your mother told you to take them away. Or your father told you to take them away. Or your father decides something unfair or unjust and you can't raise your voice about it. You can't say anything about it because, hey, respect your father, respect your mother. The same Quran that says stand up for justice, even if it's against both your parents. You know, وَلَوْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوِ الْوَالِدَيْنِ وَالْأَقْرَبِينَ. That's also Quran. The same Quran that says be the best to your parents says stand up for justice, even if you have to stand up against yourself and against both of your parents, because the Quran is constantly teaching balance. But what happens in a culture where you'll highlight one thing and you ignore the other, you create an imbalance and people think this is Islam. People start thinking this is Islam. This is the same kind of extreme that will happen. Respect for ulama, respect for scholars is a cornerstone of our civilization. We have to have respect for scholars. But does respect for scholars means you can't ask them a question and you can't say, hey, you said something, but that's not making sense. Or you said something, I'm not sure how that adds up. Can you explain yourself? Or there seems to be a contradiction between what you said here and what you said here. Can you reconcile that? Could it be that you made a mistake? And he says, you have no respect for the ulama. Do you know where I graduated from? Do you know who my father was? Do you know the history of my heritage and the ijazat I got? You're going to question me? That kind of mentality would have worked maybe in the Catholic Church at some point when you're going to question the Pope. That could have worked. That could have worked in some other religious tradition where you don't question the religious clergy. But in this religion, we started the Surah Al-Baqarah with Allah making a verdict that he's going to put humans on the earth. And the angels asked a question, how could you do that? He's going to cause corruption in the world. Even Allah gave the right to the angels to ask questions when they didn't understand something. And they're not questioning a scholar. They're questioning who? Allah himself. Our religion began with the right to ask questions. And Allah didn't say, how dare you ask a question? Allah said, إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. But it can become an extreme, can't it? And once that becomes an extreme, once any extreme forms, it becomes like a cancer. It has larger consequences on the society. It starts having multiple reactions, not just limited to one area, in all other areas. So this teaching of balance is actually something not only the Muslims need, it's actually what all of humanity needs. It's all of humanity. And it always begins with a good idea. Like I said, rights of parents is a good idea. We're living in times of great extremism, even in government, where you'll take an idea like national security, a good idea, a powerful, legitimate idea. Every nation on earth should be concerned with national security. But when you go excessive, that same good term, you can commit unspoken kinds of immoral, illegal, inhumane activities in the name of what? National security, right? Because you went into an extreme. In our judgments, the word deen, the last thing I'll share with you today, is the word deen isn't just for religion. The word deen in Arabic, like the phrasing in Arabic, كَمَا تَدِينُ تُدَانُ, the way you deal with people, that is how you shall be dealt with. Deen is actually an all-encompassing term for how you deal with people, how you make judgments. You know, like a famous hadith, you marry a woman for her deen, doesn't just mean does she wear hijab or not. It actually means, how does she deal with elders? How does she deal with conflict? How does she deal with, her peers? How does she deal with other women? How does she deal with in-laws? How does she, what are her dealings like? That's actually deen too, right? So when Allah says, "La taghlu fi dinikum," this is a pretty comprehensive phrase the people of the book were told. Don't become obsessive, don't become extreme in any of your dealings, in any of them. Now, before I leave you, I just want to give you some food for thought, because this has so many powerful implications. I want to leave you with some things that for you to think about and discuss, inshallah, with your friends and family as we end this khutbah. And that has to do with an extreme that the Muslims sometimes fall into without realizing it. The kinds of, as a group, not as individuals, but even as a group. On the one hand, you can have an extreme, this is we want a protective environment for our children. We want to protect our kids from bad influences outside, right? So that's a good thing. There should be a nurturing, protective environment for our children. If you take that too far, then you're putting your children inside of a cocoon, and they don't know what's going on in the outside world. They don't know what other kids are doing and talking about. They don't know what's out there. And the moment they get old enough, because you cannot keep them inside this cocoon forever, eventually you'll have to get them out of that environment and take them outside. And because you tried to overprotect them, they weren't ready for what's coming from the outside. They never learned what it means to get into a fight and how to deal with that problem. They never learned how to face adversity. They never learned to respond to someone who's making fun of them or to challenge what they believe. They never learned any of that. They never learned how to handle intimidation, how to respond to it, how to engage with it, how to deal with it. Why? Because you were trying to protect them. Well, your attempt to protect them actually made them the most unprotected. That one extreme ended up becoming the other extreme, right? And then there are other folks that can say, no, I want my child to know what the world is like. I want them to make non-Muslim friends, and as they should, I believe they should too. And so they engage with the society, but there's not enough of a nurturing environment to strengthen what they actually believe, right? So now they're too overexposed to the outside and the outside elements, and that's become an extreme. And what's supposed to ground them in their own identity and their own protected environment, what's supposed to fuel them, not enough of that is there.